welcome and introduce our two presenters this morning. We have Bethany Magnuson and we have Jeremy McKibbin from KeyBank here in Hillsboro. And I'm just going to mute myself and turn it over to them. So welcome and thank you very much for being with us here this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. So my name again is Bethany Magnuson. I'm the branch manager for KeyBank in Hillsboro, and I work with our small business owners in the area and surrounding to make sure that we're really able to help navigate these unforeseen times right now and provide the resources necessary to help our small businesses. So I partner with Jeremy McKibbin, and I'll go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you. So my name is Jeremy McKibbin. I'm a senior business banking relationship manager here in the Portland metro area, specifically in the Hillsboro area. My specific duty is to manage relationships for businesses that generate $3 to $25 million in revenue and help them find resources available to help streamline their business or help them meet any needs that may arise as we're seeing right now. This is definitely something that is completely unforeseen and I think a shock to the entire nation at this point. And it's great to see that the government is stepping up to help those small businesses, not only to stay open if they are able to, but also make sure that their employees are taken care of as well. This program is specifically designed for that purpose, to help reduce or help cover expenses during this time. There's a lot of information that's been thrown at us. I mean, the bill obviously passed on Friday. We had a call on Saturday. We had a call on Sunday. We had a call on Monday. We took a break on Tuesday, which was nice. And then back at it again. I think we had 3 different calls yesterday around it because of some recent changes that were made by the SBA. So typically when these types of bills pass, there's a period of time that's a little bit longer than 3 to 4 days. So we're trying to get as much information out to clients as it comes available. But I think we got a good grasp on it because the applications are going to be going live tomorrow, where the SBA is going to be receiving applications from the financial institutions who are participating in this program. So right now it's open to preferred lenders, preferred SBA lenders, so folks that are already doing SBA in-house financing, and then those that have the capability of helping clients process those applications. Some banks just don't have the infrastructure to be able to support the volume that's coming in. So the SBA reached out to those folks and offered it up, and we were one of those banks fortunate enough to help our clients. So one of the things that I think is very intriguing about this bill, which I've never seen before, and I'll cover a few other benefits that the SBA is providing that a lot of people I'm sure are not aware of. The benefit is there is a debt forgiveness piece. So they'll take the calculation, which I can send out to Deanna, I'm sorry, and she can share that with you guys to show what that calculation would look like. And then I also have some information surrounding what the debt forgiveness model looks like as well. Basically, in a nutshell, they really want you to maintain your staff for 8 months. And if you're able to maintain your staff for an 8-month period, then the debt would be forgiven. There is some questions around temp employees and union employees that have come around that we're trying to get more information around, get more information on to be able to share that. So be looking for that shortly. But as it stands, they just want to make sure that you're maintaining your full-time equivalency protocol or percentage, so that at the end of the 8-month period, that portion of that loan can be forgiven. Now, if you do have folks that are leaving or you do have to lay off, then there is a percentage that would basically be carried over into a loan. just think I'll just back up for a second. This this loan is deferred for 6 months, so all payments are deferred for 6 months. So after the period of time, you come up with this, you have some people that are laid off, then the percentage would come into play, and it would turn into a 2-year term loan at 0.5%. So this has changed from when it was initially rolled out. They were talking about doing a 10-year term at 4%, but they recently made the determination that it would make more sense to do a short term at a much lower percent. So the business is not carrying that additional debt. The other piece of it too, I want to share with folks that have SBA loans. If your bank has not reached out to you currently, the SBA is waiving all payments for 6 months on all SBA loans. This does include the 504s, where the portion is held by the CDCs, and the 7A programs for any kind of acquisition. Actually, all SBA loans, all 7As are going to be waived for that 6-month period. So I would encourage you to reach out to your lenders if you currently have any of those loans in place, just to make sure that you understand the time frame and the timing, and the bank has been communicating to you with what they're finding from the SBA. So there's just a lot of tools that are available to clients that are being offered right now, and it becomes a little bit overwhelming. I completely understand. I mean, I've been doing this for 20+ years, and this is just a ton of information coming at us at one time. So trying to make sense of it all is key, and we're open to answer any questions that we have to the best of our ability, of course. We should hear more information later today, Beth and I both, and we hope to be able to share that with you as it comes in. At this time right now, KeyBank and other financial institutions are taking applications for existing clients. So we're encouraging folks who are interested in taking advantage of this and their current bank is not participating to reach out to us so we can get something established. And the reason why we're requiring this is because there's a aspect of banking that's in line with the U.S. Patriot Act, where it's we have to know our customers, and basically collecting information and data to prevent any kind of fraud, anti-money laundering, and all that. It's just more information that we have to adhere to and more regulations that we have to adhere to. And obviously, anytime we do a loan, we have to be able to provide that information to the U.S. government. Well, in this situation, since these loans are designed to be fast-tracked, we need to make sure that we're getting clients through that process by at least setting up a DDA, which would be a business checking account, basic checking account at least, so that we can ensure that the funds are going to that individual, and that they're also ensuring that it's going to the right individual. This has been a concern since they rolled it out, is the amount of fraud that could be associated with this, and we want to make sure that these funds are going to business owners to support the businesses that are struggling right now during this time. So whatever we need to do on our end, please let us know. We are more than willing to help you guys if you have a situation where your bank is not able to participate in the program. We would be willing, and we actually would be excited to help you going forward. So I think that honestly, it might be best if we just open up questions right now, just because it seems to be, there's going to be a lot of questions that I think we're going to probably need to get to. But that's the program in a nutshell.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeremy. So we do have a question. We have one question already. One condition for, and this is from Cheryl, one condition for forgiveness of the PPP is employee retention for 8 months. We have a lot of turnover. Is this a certain number of employees? So is it with the same number you start with, that 8 months later you have to have the same employees or the same number of employees?
Yeah, so let me read this off. This is off of a fact sheet that we received on Tuesday. And so let me get down here 1 second. So your loan will be your loan forgiveness will be reduced if you decrease your full-time staff employee headcount Level of payroll. Your loan forgiveness will also be reduced if you decrease salaries and wages more than 25% for an employee that made less than 100,000 annualized in 2019. And then there is a rehiring piece, right? So you have until June 30th to restore your full-time employment and salary levels for any changes made between February 15th and April 26th.
All right, thank you very much. So we have another question from Brad Smith. After the application process, how long will it take for the money to be in the hands of the applicant?
So we're hearing 3 to 4 days.
Oh, wow.
So I guess, okay, after application, I would say after approval, then we're looking at 3 to 4 days. So I would say it would be a week.
A week. And the approval process, does that go through the bank or through the bank to then SBA?
The bank then to the SBA.
Got it. Okay. So are you anticipating tomorrow that there's going to be sort of like the unemployment claims where it's just this huge spike and that systems might be tested in terms of technology and failure and those kinds of things?
Yeah, we absolutely, that was the biggest conversation we had yesterday, is how we're going to be able to handle the request. So I know that when they started pushing out the disaster relief, the SBA had 30,000 requests within 24 hours. So we anticipate that we're going to receive quite a bit, and we've done a pretty good job on gauging it. So I mean, we're sending links out, which is collecting information from our clients and prospects that are interested in taking advantage of this opportunity. And then what we're doing is that's giving us an idea of, okay, how many applications can we submit or are we expecting? And then do we have the right infrastructure in place? And what do we need to make movements and adjustments to ensure that the system doesn't crash and that we're pushing these applications through on a timely manner. So yeah, we've tested the systems and we're good to go. From what I'm hearing, we're good to go.
Excellent. Okay, so we have another question from Anna Bond. What is the difference between the funds available from the Hillsboro $3,000 limit versus the PPP Federal Paycheck Protection Program? I know that the Hillsboro funds are a grant, so it's $3,000 as a grant and it's not a forgivable loan, it's just $3,000 that you get. Is there, in terms of the PPP, is there a limitation or an amount that you can fund through this program?
It's based on the calculation of the payroll and expense. So I can send out, we're hoping, right, Beth? We're hoping to have a calculator today that we can share with clients so that they can run those calculations. The bank doesn't feel comfortable right now having us run those numbers just because it tends to be a moving target. And there's a liability aspect involved too. So we want to make sure that what we're getting from the SBA is fully approved so that we're not, hoping or having someone hope that they're receiving what they think they're getting when their reality sets in and they're getting something else. So.
Got it. And it's not a straightforward calculation. I mean, it's a little complex. So in terms of, because I know that there are businesses that, immediately when they were curtailed or closed, furloughed or laid off employees. And so now they're looking at, is this viable? Do I bring them back? And if so, how is my cash flow going to be managed? Do I have the cash flow to be able to bring them back and keep them on through this process and through this potentially forgivable process? All right, next question from Henry. How do you calculate the number of employees for an LLC with multiple owners, partners that receive regular salaries? I'm just going to go down the screen a little bit here. And include, can't read all the way. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
The questions are, and receive salaries that are included as part of their payroll.
So that I would have to defer to the calculator. I mean, I know that from an owner standpoint, owner salaries are okay and they are included up to $100,000. there's just with LLCs, sole props, there's just different calculations that are that we're learning are going to be more difficult for us to be able to share at this time. So I mean, once we get the calculator, I'll have a better understanding of what each entity would be eligible for. So,
Got it.
sorry, I don't really have an answer to that one yet.
There's a lot of things I'm sure that are still up in the air that we'll get clarity as we move along, right?
Oh yeah.
So this is from John. The application form Deanna shared asks for the average monthly payroll. Do you include just gross payroll figures in computing that, or do you include anything else such as benefits, payroll, taxes, or anything else?
Yeah, you want to include the benefits, taxes, all that stuff. I believe that even if you have a 401k, you'll want to include, if you have a matching program, you'll definitely want to include that as well.
Excellent. From Tannisborn Grocery, do employee bonuses qualify as part of payroll for this program?
Yes.
Excellent. From Soma Wellness Spa, some of my employees are commission only, some are hourly and commission. How do I calculate what to restore them to?
That's another question we'll have to look into. Yeah, the commission employees, what they're doing is they're basing it on the average of your total salary. So basically it's going to be your job to be able to allocate that, right? So if it's commission based, you're paying them. They're taking the average between January of 2019 through February 15th of 2020, and then taking that number and averaging it out and taking 2.5 times to find that number. So it's really going to be, as far as the allocation, it's going to be dependent on what your choice is. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How do we count part-time employees? Are they part of PT or full-time equivalents?
That's another question. That's one of those union questions I had, because union employees are typically part-time. We're still trying to get an answer from the SBA on that.
Got it. Another question, are there thresholds applicable to this program? Is there a minimum or maximum number of employees? What about sole proprietors or gig workers?
So yeah, you can't exceed 500 employees. So the limit is $10 million or 500, or if you exceed $500, I'm sorry, 500 employees. Sole props are eligible. They just have to have proof that they're paying themselves, or there's a payroll aspect in there. That's the key factor. That's the glue that holds us all together, is we have to have proof of payroll.
Excellent. Okay, this is from Hope Howard. What I'm hearing is that we can apply for reimbursement of salary, rent, utilities, but the draft form only asks for salaries to multiply by 2.5. Where do we add these other expenses?
So this would be part of the application. I think that there was some questions around that, because yesterday during our call, it didn't really make sense to us, because that's still the way that it was worded is only for employee full-time equivalency and to support the employees. But if you're paying those expenses in addition to that, then that kind of creates there's a shortfall there. So we're trying to get more clarification around that as well.
Excellent. This is from Jeff. Are nonprofits eligible for the PPP program? And I'm assuming that they're asking about nonprofits 501c3s.
Surprisingly, they are. Historically, SBA loans, nonprofits, churches, anything that's tax exempt, any business that's tax exempt is not allowed or not SBA eligible. But in this situation, they absolutely are.
So 501c6 organizations like let me think, Chamber of Commerce, are we?
Not 6, 3s.
So we're out.
I know.
We're not covered. Yes.
Bummer.
It is a big bummer. It's a really big deal, because here we are
Yeah.
on the front lines and we can't apply for that. Enough of my whining. I'll move to the next question. There is a sample. This is from Anna Bond again. There is a sample application form, and there's a link. This gives an idea what information numbers will be required. So if you're interested in what that sample form looks like, Anna has posted that link on our chat line. Go grab that. This is from Tony. Funds can be used for payroll cost, interest on mortgage obligation, rent under lease agreements, utilities. What about current loans for capital assets? Good question, Tony.
Yeah, that's really where the disaster relief comes in, because that's the purpose of that is capital needs, permanent working capital. We're also taking, we're still open for business too. So I'm working on doing some loans for clients that, need capital loans. So, lines of credits, we're doing some permanent working capital deals right now. So we're still looking at every aspect, even though it may not qualify under one of these programs. I would definitely reach out to one of your relationship managers or your banks to see if they're able to assist with that. Because here's the thing with the disaster relief. I mean, it's probably going to be a few months before the payouts are going to come into play. So what are we going to do during that interim period? That's the question.
And if you apply for the EIDL, does that prohibit you from applying for the PPP?
No.
You can do both.
Yeah.
So is there?
Yeah, because they're two different. The loan purposes are completely different. That's the thing. So you can't use the PPP loan for capital needs, which it wouldn't be. It's there to help bridge the expense gap. Whereas a capital loan, disaster relief is permanent working capital to help the business from that standpoint. So two different sources of uses.
Got it. Thank you. Okay, we have the next question from Bob Roach. We have one corporation that does payroll for our 5 LLCs. Each LLC pays the corporation for its share of the payroll. Will we have to apply under each individual LLC, or can the corporation just apply for the PPP and covered utilities, etc.?
So that's a great question. I would say, so if the corporation is doing the payroll for the 5 LLCs, and so there's an association there, then it would just be the corporation that would be applying.
Okay, so Cheryl has another question. As for the condition of 8 months employee retention, what about the fact that many businesses will not have the same revenue for the next 8 months as they did before and cannot bring employees back right away?
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a better answer for you. I mean, this was brought up yesterday as well. And we have a feeling that this is just phase one. Because if this doesn't turn around and businesses aren't able to reopen, this will have a direct impact on their sales. So I don't have an answer for that at this point, but I know that is something that the legislators are looking into right now, because I don't know if there's going to be enough funding for this entire program for this period of time.
And I'm just wondering is, from a business owner perspective, if you're waiting to see what else comes out, or if you do something now, is it likely that you'll not be eligible for any future programs, or do you think it will be that they're going to keep those things open and not require you to kind of pick and choose what you can and can't do and apply for?
I've been telling my clients, apply. I mean, even if you don't think you may not need it, you never know, because like I said, if this goes on for another 2 months, reopening could be difficult. So I would encourage people who own businesses to take advantage of this opportunity, because I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. I wish I had a better answer for you. All I know right now is we're trying to help businesses, whether it be through this program or if we're able to do something from a conventional standpoint to provide any kind of working capital. That's what we're trying to accomplish. So I would not wait, because I don't know what's going to happen eventually.
Excellent.
Sorry, I don't have a better answer.
That's quite all right. So Jack Stern, you have raised your hand, so I'm going to ask you to unmute and ask your question, please.
I don't know how I raised my hand.
That's okay. Do you have a question?
I have no question. This is very good. Thank you very much.
No worries. No worries.
I'll go ahead and
So we have a question from Ryan Corbridge. We have a PC that does payroll for 3 employees and a subcorp PC that runs payroll for the owner. Is it recommended that we apply for 2 PPP loans?
Yes, I would.
Simple and sweet. Thank you.
Yeah.
Soma Wellness, again, thank you so much for taking the time to answer. Thank you. And then Brad Smith, is the money going to be paid as one lump sum, or is it going to be a monthly payment?
Nope, it's lump sum. So yeah, the the money will be actually ACH'd into the client's account. So if you're going through a financial institution that does participate, it will go into your account and you can use those funds accordingly. And then yeah, so it'll be right in there, lump sum, no payout over time, which is nice.
All right, Anna Bond again, is the business, if the business is an LLC, typically our employees are in the payroll system, but we can add our member distributions for our monthly expenses, the co-owners, since we are not an employee. Not sure if I understood that, but.
Yeah, so this is a touchy situation. Distributions, from what we gather, are not included. It's if you have owner salaries that are taken out on a different line item on your balance sheet, and then maybe you calculate that into the distributions, then you know it would be eligible then. But if it's just straight distributions, unfortunately, from my understanding, and I can get more clarification around it, not at this time.
All right. So this is a question, just clarification, that there was some thought that the staff levels had to be maintained for 8 weeks, not 8 months. Is the 8 month, is that a change?
Let me, yeah, that's actually, let me change that because it might have been a change. I'm pulling up the fact sheet real quick. Sorry.
No worries. No, this is, it changes all the time.
Okay. Over 8 weeks after getting the loan. Yes, so it's 8 weeks.
8 weeks, not
Yes.
8 months.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that,
the
catching that.
question. Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. That's, so yep, just as a clarification, everybody's got that, 8 weeks. Okay, from Jen Little, how do we find a bank that participates, like in the Hillsboro area? How many banks are like SBA preferred loan lenders? Do you know?
There is a list of preferred lenders on the SBA website, and then I would just reach out to your financial institution to see if they are participating. It's very, I don't want to answer that question personally,
Right.
but I know that
List the name of your competitors here.
yeah, well, you know, I think I know that Chase is participating, and I know that Wells Fargo is, I know Bank of America. I'm hearing mixed messages on Columbia, so if there's someone from Columbia that could clarify.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah, we know we are, and we know there are a handful of banks, and from a national level, but locally we really don't have a grasp on that. So reach out to your current bank. If you need help and they're not participating, reach out to us. We'll be able to assist you.
Excellent. So Richard Zelke, you have raised your hand. I would like to ask you to unmute and ask your question.
Yes, thank you so much for doing this and providing this information. I'm a business coach and work primarily with startups, which I have several clients who are as sole proprietors. And
I am confused about the difference between the EIDL and the PPP.
Got something breaking in here.
I muted it. It should be okay now. Thanks.
Okay. Okay, so I have several clients who are sole proprietors, and actually when this hit, they were operating on a net loss basis for their business. Would they be eligible to apply for this?
Yeah, because they're making the calculation based on the payroll. So if there's a loss in the business, it doesn't matter. It's just based on the payroll expenses at this time. So.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the questions from Matt Rouse. SBA will forgive loans if all employees are kept on the program for Payroll for 8 weeks. Yep, we got that. Thank you. Can Jeremy post the fact sheet he is referring to? And you said you would do that?
Yeah, I'll send that over to you, and if you can disperse it, that'd be great.
Absolutely, happy to do that. This is from Ryan. Would the cost incurred transitioning from a traditional business to a virtual office be expenses that could be reimbursed under the PPP?
I don't know. I really don't know. I think it's there for to support your lease payments, so your rent, and then if you have any if you own a building, paying that mortgage as well. So I don't know really how to answer that, unfortunately.
I think we can certainly, now that we've got the question, we can certainly send it out to our network and see if someone has an answer to that. And I just want to do a little shout out to City Councilor Beach Pace, who is on the line with us here today listening in. So thank you for joining us, Councilor Pace. So here's another question. If we had to close already, as long as we reopen by 6:30, would we still be forgiven for the PPP loan, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, so if you can't even open up, you're still eligible. So there are businesses that, restaurants that cannot open up. I spoke with a dental office who they had to shut down, but they would still qualify for this, and those payments, as long as you're using those funds to pay your employees during this time, they would still be eligible, and they would be part of the debt forgiveness. The whole goal is to help pay those employees who you have on staff.
So the next question, what about truck leases or other equipment leases? Is it just rent and building related?
Correct. It's just business expense.
But there are capital loans available that you can get for some of those, or other types of loans that you can get. Are lenders really, are they looking at the interest rates and these are going to be low interest? So we're not really having small businesses rack up a bunch of additional debt outside of these programs that are being offered. Is that correct?
Repeat that question. Sorry.
I guess I'm just wondering, that this is a program that has, some level of specificity around what it covers. And so some employers and small businesses are going to find that this is really helpful. Others are going to find that, there are other needs that fall outside of this program. And so they're going to have to go and figure out what that other vehicle, financing vehicle will look like. Are interest rates going to stay low? Are there going to be, additional potential loans offered that will not put small businesses in a situation where they're racking up a bunch of additional debt that's going to take them a long time to pay off and rebuild their business?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be based on the business. So, I mean, if you have a business that's still performing, and I'm doing a couple deals right now for commercial real estate because the business has not been affected by this. So we're still doing that type of lending. Our goal is not to have the businesses accumulate more debt, right? We want to make sure that we keep those long-term liabilities or even the short-term liabilities as low as possible. So as far as an interest rate standpoint goes, yes, the interest rates are going to remain low. Banks are offering low interest rates. I mean, with the 10-year treasury being at a historic low, I think it's under 1% still. Last time I saw it 3 weeks ago, it hit a historic low, which was 0.38. So that's going to be driving those interest rates down. So if you have a business who is needing equipment or looking to purchase a building, or just short-term capital needs or long-term capital needs for permanent working capital purposes, they should reach out to the financial institution, because banks are still lending. Banks are well capitalized. This is not a repeat of 2008, which is completely different than the situation right now. So I think that's something to definitely think about for sure.
All right, next question. What about those filing as self-employed, where they receive all the revenue as income and pay all the expenses as a personal expense? Can 100% of the PPP be paid to the self-employed as wage replacement?
Hey, Beth, are you on?
Yeah.
Do you mind answering that? Because I feel like you guys have a better grasp on that self-employed portion.
Yeah, can you repeat the question one more time to make sure I understand?
I hope so. I'm trying to find it in this long list of, Tony, was that your question? Could you unmute and ask it so I get it right? Thanks.
All right, thanks, Deanna. Yeah, for those who are filing under self-employed, can 100%, where basically 100% of the revenue comes in and then they pay all the expenses related to the business as a personal cost, can 100% of the PPP monies just be distributed as wage and then be distributed, cover whatever expenses they need?
Yeah, I do think that that's a really good question, and that's one that I'll also I'll get back to you, Tony, on that one, because there's again so much information coming at us, and so if that question was a yes yesterday, it could be a little bit different today. So we want to make sure that we're giving you the most accurate information possible. So if you're okay that we table that one just for a little bit longer, I'll try to get some more clarification for you.
Sure.
One thing too that I wanted to mention on this is, Jeremy, you've done such a good job of kind of explaining the program. One question that I keep having come up, and I actually have just received a few emails from business clients, is around credit. I was thinking that maybe you could kind of talk to that. So we've had some people say, you know, I really don't have very good credit, or I'm feeling a little bit behind on some loans right now. How do you feel that this is going to affect those people? Or maybe you could talk to that a little bit.
Jeremy.
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to think of how to answer that. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of uncertainty right now with what's happening, and you know, we want to make sure the goal is to help reduce this unemployment, you know, improve the jobs market for sure, and that's one of the top goals, and making sure that, you know, clients are taken care of, and we understand that there's going to be an impact on credit, and that's why this program is designed not to have any kind of effect on those that are looking to establish or take advantage of this program, even if their credit is you know, there's a concern. So I'm like I said, I'm telling everyone, or asking every one of my employees, customers, to apply and make sure that they're taking advantage of this. Does that answer your question, your statement, Beth? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think it's important that people know, 'cause again, that's a big question that's come up is, you know, do I have to qualify with credit right now? And so it's important, I think, for all of you on the call to know as well, is this is not, we're not pulling your credit. There is no personal guarantee on this. So it's important that you understand that as well, but thank you.
Thank you. Another question that I think kind of gets to that. Do you know what is needed for PPP, the SBA loan grant? Do we need financial statements, a balance sheet, and P&L? And they haven't. And what if you haven't filed for your taxes for 2019 at this point?
Yeah, you don't need taxes. They made that very clear. Company prepared financials from 2019, January 2019 to February 15th of this year. That period of time, they're going to take the calculation of your payroll, which you want to make sure that is listed out as a line item, and then obviously your rent and expenses and all that, utilities included into those the expense category of your P&L. So that's what they're asking for, to do those calculations.
All right, next question from Molly McNeil. Do you know the date range that staff levels have to be maintained? For example, is it from the start of the loan period to 8 weeks later, or are they looking at prior dates for FTE?
So they're looking at, so, you know, I think it's best if I send out the fact sheet, because that lists it out. Basically, you have until where is it? June 30th. Yeah, June 30th to restore your full-time employment. And if you need to make any changes, let's see here, restore your full-time employment and salary levels for any changes made between February 15th through April 26th. So
Okay.
yeah, if you laid anyone off or there was a reduction in staff between February 15th and April 26th, you have until June 30th to bring that back to where it was.
Excellent. Thank you. This is from Bob Roach. Does the PPP include mortgage payments or just the interest on the mortgage payments?
It includes mortgage payments.
Excellent. From Cheryl, to be clear, we fill out the application and submit to the banker who then submits to the SBA.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's the plan.
Okay. This from Kristen. Do you know how partial furloughs through the Workshare Oregon program would impact the PPP?
I'm just read that question again. Where was that? Do you know partial furloughs? I really don't know because I'm not familiar with the Oregon Workshare program.
Got it. So it's if you have a full-time employee, and I think you have to have up to 3 full-time employees that then are furloughed, it helps sort of restore their full-time salary and wages and benefits, but yet so you don't have to actually furlough them or lay them off. It helps you keep the employees in place. So I'm not sure how those programs cross over either, but that'll be something for us to look at and maybe contact Business Oregon to get some clarity on that.
Yeah.
Another question, if we apply for the Hillsboro grant, do we become ineligible for the PPP, or are they completely separate? I think they're completely separate.
They are. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Brad Smith, what happens if an employee leaves for another job?
That's another question that we have. I think if it's voluntary termination, it's okay, and we're getting clarification around that.
Got it. So another question comes from Colette. Did I miss this? This is an interest of many on the call. Can you ask what about those filing as self-employed, where they receive all the revenue as income and pay all the expenses as personal expense? I think Tony asked that question.
Yeah.
Can 100% of the PPP be paid to the self-employed as the wage replacement? So I think we're looking into that. Is that correct? If I remember.
Yeah, we'll have to because that was brought up on the call yesterday, and they were following up with the SBA in regard to that because it's not a line item. It's completely separate than how a business has that line item with payroll expense. So yeah, we'll have to figure that out for you.
Excellent. So that'll be a great, keep an eye on the Chamber's website. We're going to answer these questions for you, and we're going to have nice people like Jeremy go find the answer and then answer them for us. And that'll be we'll post those responses. And then from Greg, how would PPP affect employees who were laid off and their eligibility of unemployment benefits? Assumption is they wouldn't qualify for unemployment because they would be rejoining the workforce. So no double dipping. You're either on and receiving unemployment benefits, or you are being rehired or kept on by your employer who's taking advantage of the PPP. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, it's designed to minimize the unemployment claims for sure. Yeah.
Got it. From Ken, is it possible for Bethany to, I think I answered this one. We've talked about this already, so I'm sorry about this. How long is this loan expected to last for payroll, et cetera? End of year, 1 year? What's the duration of the loan or the grant, I guess, if it's forgiven?
Yeah, it's, that's a tough question because, the honest answer is when the funds run out. And we don't know how long those funds are going to be lasting because this is a national program. And I do anticipate that they will run out of funds and we'll probably have to reallocate some.
I think you're asking for the term of the loan. So is it like—
Oh, the term of the loan? I'm sorry. I thought, okay. So the term is 2 years.
2 years. Okay.
So yeah, and you can pay it off whenever you want. There's no prepayment penalties, and the interest rate is 0.5%.
0.5%. Okay.
Sorry, I misunderstood the question.
No, I probably said it wrong. So, all right. Clarification question: for business that have all hourly employees and had to close, so everyone was laid off, can they still use the PPP as long as they are able to reopen by 6/30 and hire those employees back?
Yeah, but it's also, from what we're gathering, it doesn't have to be even a reopen. If you're a non-essential business and you don't have the ability to reopen, which is the case for some people, then you're still paying those employees. So that's the whole goal, is to help minimize, like I said, the unemployment claims going forward and keep those employees, because the anticipation of the government is anticipating this to blow over soon, and we're going to get through this and we're going to move on with our lives. We just want to make sure that it's an easier transition during that time period. So we understand businesses are shutting down currently right now, and just they cannot operate. And this just allows those folks to retain their employees during this time.
So I have a question about the unemployment insurance and the fact that it's now an additional $600 per week. What if somebody's wages that now they're on unemployment and a company applies for the PPP, they get it, they bring those employees back, and quite honestly, they're not making as much as they were making when they were receiving the unemployment benefits now?
Yeah, that's come up actually quite a bit. I don't have the answer to that, unfortunately, because you're right. There are cases where the claim is going to be more attractive. However, I would just encourage you to have the employees look at it from a long-term perspective, because obviously unemployment is short-term. Right. So that's the way I would look at it.
And if you furloughed your employees versus laying them off, that was a 4-week understanding, and there are certain parameters around that terminology of furlough, meaning that the employee has to be willing to come back to the job. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And stay in relation and stay in contact with the company. So it's different than a full layoff. The 4-week furlough does really require that employee that's taking advantage of the unemployment benefits to come back to that job after because it's just like an interruption or a disruption.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Absolutely.
So we are now about 10 minutes away from the end of our program. So I would encourage anybody who has last questions, comments, if you want to chime in and add your own advice or your own experiences, now's the time to do that.
Deanna, I've got a question.
All right. Hello, Ryan. How are you?
I don't run a restaurant, but if you do run a restaurant and you had employees that are minimum wage and making money on tips, it's those employees that maybe have been laid off now that are going to be interested in staying on the unemployment benefits because of the enhanced federal contribution. Does the company need to come and hire back all those previous employees, or can they go and hire, the management or the salaried employees back as an initial unit that they can use to launch their business moving forward once the economy does turn around? Or do they have to have those waiters and waitresses brought back on to their disadvantage?
From my understanding, they don't. I mean, if they want to hire on their essential staff, that's probably that's what most restaurants, I mean, the ones I've been speaking with, that's what they're doing. And yeah, it would, from my understanding, as long as they met that full-time equivalency, I think they would be fine. So a lot of the servers, from what I'm understanding, are part-time employees, which, if you can get 1 or 2 people that they're adding to staff to help bridge that full-time equivalency ratio, then that would probably be sufficient. Again, I will run that up the chain just for clarification, but that's a great question.
Additionally, in relation to banks lending on commercial spaces, I was in a meeting this morning where I was notified that U.S. Bank, because of their inability to forecast values under the current economic environment of properties, has ceased all commercial loans for the next 4 months, I think. And also that could trickle down to residential as well. Thoughts?
No, that's interesting. I mean, I can't speak for U.S. Bank. I can only speak with KeyBank, and we are doing commercial real estate purchases and refinances. I mean, we're still in the process of it. I mean, I do think this could have an impact on properties. I mean, that's just my opinion in doing this, but it's not going to have nearly the impact it did in 2008. So I don't think we're going to see a decrease of a building that's valued currently at say $2 million. It's going to drop down to $1 million. I don't think we're going to foresee that. I think we're still building, we're still lending, and this economy in Portland, we're still in a standstill. but we're going to get out of this, and we're going to come out of it strong, in my opinion. So business as usual here at KeyBank.
Thank you for that. It's always nice to hear something really positive in times when things are not looking so positive. So I just want to point out that Bethany has added a link on the chat section that could be helpful in answering Tony's question and several other folks that were asking questions about self-employed. And so be sure and grab that link. How many weeks of payroll is the PPP intended to cover is the next question from Melissa.
I believe it was 8 weeks.
8 weeks.
Again,
right?
yeah, just clarifying 1 second. Yeah, it looks like 8 weeks.
Excellent. So I see that the folks are having trouble with the link. It requires a KeyBank login. I think that's a great marketing thing for KeyBank. That's excellent. But we'll be sure to get a link that doesn't require that and get that posted and forwarded out.
Yeah, I'll send it out to you. There's actually a PDF form too. It's not actually a KeyBank document. It's from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. So it came out to us and we're sharing. So that one was just sent over to me and I didn't realize it wasn't going to work for you. So I apologize. But I will send you over the PDF so that you can send that out to folks as well.
Excellent.
So thank you. Sorry about that.
No worries. Thank you. We've got many of the U.S. Chamber links on our COVID-19 website as well, and that you can access. So I think that if we can't get it this way, we've got it probably on our website as well. How can one review the entire meeting? I'm assuming you mean this meeting. So we're recording this and we're going to post it to our YouTube channel, and then you can listen in and hear all of the information and share it as much as you like. Hopefully that answered the question you were asking regarding this meeting. So we are now at 10:54. So I just want to remind folks, first of all, thank you very much, Jeremy and Bethany. Truly appreciate it. All the information that you shared with us. I'm trying to see how many people we have. We have 60 people on the call. At one point in time, we had 75. So a lot of folks are very interested in this information, and thank you for taking the time. We will be following up with KeyBank on some of the things that the questions that came up and make sure that we get all of your questions answered. And again, a reminder that the Small Business Entrepreneurial Council for the Chamber, also known as the SBEC, have put together these programs, the Small Business Solutions Series, that will run every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 10 to 11 o'clock regarding a variety of different issues and topics. So, and we're also looking for, if you're interested in a specific topic, or if you're an expert on a specific topic that would be timely for these tumultuous circumstances we're in, please let me know and we'll get you in our lineup. So as you can see, it's fairly easy, and we'll promote it. We do all the connection as well, and make sure that the meeting gets set up. But thank you all very much for participating. And I would just ask either Elizabeth Case or Brad Smith, who are a part of our SBEC, if they want to have any final comments.
I would love for that to be Brad that does it, but I have a feeling he's going to stay silent and with camera shy. So no, thank you so much. We have a full lineup coming up next week. The only other thing I would say is just a quick reminder about the chamber, the city's small business grant, which the applications will be live on Tuesday from 9 to 4. So make sure you have your calendar marked and everything ready for that as well.
And I think stay tuned also. I know that Washington County is also looking at putting together a funding program, whether it's a grant or a forgivable loan. Haven't heard those details, but I think that there'll be more information next week that we can share. And then also my hope is that the state of Oregon would step up with a program and be providing support to our small businesses. So I'm looking forward to hearing how that's moving forward, and we'll invite Representative Salmon to join us when that program has been put together, and she can walk through and assist us in terms of answering any questions about what that program might look like. So again, if there's no other questions, we will thank our presenters and send you on your way, and hope you you have a great rest of your day and stay healthy. That's your business and yourself as well, and your family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.